Glad you could join us for 7:30 News Bulletin. My name is Fales Chizombe. First, the headlines. Bishop Erik Varden of Trondheim, Norway, preaches to Pope Leo XIV and the Roman Curia during Lenten spiritual exercise at the Vatican. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika orders re-inquiry into Chilema plane crash amid concerns over flawed initial probe. Malawi First raises alarm over patient funds at Reserve Bank of Malawi. And in other news, over 600 Kenyans trapped in Cambodia trafficking case. Norwegian Cistercian Bishop Erik Varden opened the Vatican's annual Lenten spiritual exercise for the Roman Curia by urging Christians to resist using the gospel as a political weapon and to measure authentic faith by fidelity to Christ and by the peace believers embody. Fidelity to Christ's example and commandments is the hallmark of Christian sincerity, Bishop Varden said in his first meditation, delivered in the Pauline Chapel during the retreat for Pope Leo XIV and members of the Curia, which began Sunday afternoon. We have an EWTN news report read by Patrick Popa.
Bishop Erik Varden said the extent of the peace Christ embodied that signals peace which the world cannot give and get Jesus' abiding presence in us, he continued. As the faithful, we must insist on this now, when the gospel is sometimes deployed as a weapon in cultural wars. Bishop Varden called on Christians to contest instrumentalization of Christian language and signs not merely with indignation, but by teaching what real spiritual struggle looks like. Instrumentalization of Christian language and signs should be challenged not just by one outrage, but by teaching the terms of authentic spiritual warfare. For Christian peace is not a promise of ease, it is a condition for transformed society. In the same meditation, Varden pointed to anger as a spiritual danger, citing St. John, "There is no greater obstacle to the presence of the Spirit in us than anger." He also reflected on the Church's Lenten discipline as a program marked by quality and peace. Lent confronts us with essentials, he said, stripping away distractions and inviting an abstinence of the senses, while still calling believers to battle vice and harmful passions with a straightforward yes, yes, and no, no. Varden noted that the Church's liturgy sets the tone from the outset of Lent, pointing to the traditional chant of Psalm 90 to 91, Q Habitat, sung of the first Sunday of Lent, as the Gospel recounts Christ's temptations in the wilderness.
President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika has directed a fresh inquiry into a plane crash that claimed the life of former Vice President Dr. Saulos Chilima and 8 others on 10th June 2024. This follows a recommendation by the Minister of Justice Charles Mhango, who was tasked by President Mutharika to review the report by the Commission of Inquiry into the plane crash instituted by former President Lazarus Chakwera and another report by BFU on the same. Speaking in Parliament on Tuesday in response to the question on the progress of the review report, Mhango, among other things, pointed out that the resigning of 2 members of the first Commission of Inquiry and refusal of some individuals to testify before the Commission negatively affected quality of the inquiry, hence his recommendation. Tandwim Zumara was in Parliament and she reports.
Minister of Justice Charles Mhango told Parliament that he found gaps in the investigations that were carried out during the past regime, among which the first report by the German experts was not conclusive on the cause of the accident. Mhango also noted that the final report by the German experts relied on the report by the Commission of Inquiry that Jagora instituted regarding the cause of the accident. Mhango said following the gaps in the reports that were done, he recommended a fresh inquiry, and Mutharika has ordered a fresh inquiry, and the Committee of Parliament will be the one carrying out an inquiry into the matter.
Instead of having another presidential commission of inquiry, he believes that the best way to bring this matter to a closure is to have another inquiry done or conducted by the August House.
Manza Central MP Felix Njawala, who is also UTM Chief Whip in Parliament, noted that the party has now been vindicated, expressing hope that the new investigation will be truthfully done, seeing as legislators, including those from UTM, will take part in it.
All the three inquiries did not satisfy us. I believe it's not just us as UTM, but even those in other political parties. Generally, I would say Malawians. And today we've been vindicated because the minister also highlighted that in the inquiry reports there are some gaps.
Well, Malawi Congress Party MCP Chief Whip Moses Kunkuyu has called on the Minister of Finance to allocate adequate resources in the national budget to support the fresh inquiry into the Chikangawa plane crash. According to Kunkuyu, this will allow experts to carry out independent and comprehensive work. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
Parliament has expressed concern over the rising absenteeism of its members, with First Deputy Speaker Victor Msowa noting that only 71 members of Parliament were present, while 159 were absent at the start of deliberations on Tuesday. Msowa said none of the absent members has sought leave from this office, as provided under Standing Orders 205 and 41. In reaction, Leader of Parliament Jabi Mhango described the absenteeism and late coming as a wake-up call to MPs, while Opposition Chief Whip Moses Kunkuyu said the situation is disturbing and called for full attendance by all members. We have more details in this report filed by Charity Chilanga.
First Deputy Speaker Victor Msowa expressed concern that the growing absenteeism undermines parliamentary business and disrupts deliberations, emphasizing that members are expected to notify his office if they are unable to attend the deliberations. In his remarks, the Leader of Parliament Jabi Mhango urged the legislators to arrive at least by 9:20 a.m. to allow deliberations to start on time at 9:30 a.m. He noted that the government side has introduced its own attendance register to ensure members' presence is properly recorded, warning that those failing to register will be marked absent. He emphasized that MPs were elected to represent their constituents and should only miss sittings when absolutely necessary, stressing that the register will help hold members accountable for punctuality and attendance.
The issue of not coming to Parliament and also attendance is really becoming a problem for us. So your observation is right, and that is the more reason this morning I had to call for a roll call, just to bring the attention of the public that this is what's happening in this house. It's also trying to wake up members of Parliament to make sure that they're coming here at least latest by 9:20, because the house is business at 9:30, so they must be here by 9:20. So you are right, we are very worried, and the Speaker's concerns are just as our concerns.
Opposition Chief Whip Moses Kunkuyu described the absenteeism as disturbing, saying attending parliamentary sessions is not optional and that full representation is essential for proper deliberations. He added that government members who guide business in the House must lead by example with consistent attendance.
This is a disturbing thing because attending parliamentary sessions is not an option for members of parliament. We are elected to be here, represent the people fully. In an instance where the House doesn't have a proper representation or doesn't form a quorum, then it's very difficult to transact business, because that business will be deemed as having been conducted by very few individuals. In an example like what happened today, that when the Speaker was walking in, only about 71 members were present. 4, if not 5, cabinet ministers were present. And these cabinet ministers have questions that they have to respond to, and the members have questions that they have to pose to the ministers. Are we saying a decision will have been taken by only 71 people out of 229?
The first Deputy Speaker has warned that legislators who miss sittings without notifying his office will face sanctions, including the loss of allowances, underscoring Parliament's commitment to ensuring accountability and full participation in its proceedings.
Malawi First organization has raised serious concerns over alleged mismanagement of pension funds at the Reserve Bank of Malawi, claiming that some former officials mishandled funds meant for retired workers between 2021 and 2025. Speaking during a press briefing in Lilongwe, the group's chairperson, Bon Kalindo, said their investigations uncovered suspect abuse and diversion of large sums of pension money. We have more details in this report filed by Constance Kantemene.
The organization claims it has gathered evidence suggesting that individuals entrusted with managing pension funds at the central bank allegedly mismanaged resources over a 4-year period. Kalindo told reporters that Malawi First conducted its own inquiry after receiving complaints identifying irregularities in the administration of pension funds. He said the findings point to suspected financial misconduct by certain unmentioned former RBM officials. Meanwhile, Malawi First has formally written to the Anti-Corruption Bureau (ACB) requesting a full-scale investigation into the matter. The group has stated that once the letter is delivered, the ACB will have 20 days to respond and outline the steps it intends to take.
A lot of billions into their pockets. So by coming in of this board again, they think it is time for them to discredit this board in order to cover their own debt. So we came as Malawi First here to meet you reporters to tell you our next move of action that we have written Anti-Corruption Bureau, and we are presenting the same to them today or tomorrow. We have every documentation, everything that they took from the Reserve Bank, especially issues of public pension funds.
Malawi First warned that it will take further action if the SCB fails to act within the stipulated time frame, threatening nationwide demonstrations to demand accountability and transparency in the management of pension funds at the Reserve Bank of Malawi. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Constance Kantemene.
The Roads Authority says persistent funding shortages over the past 3 to 4 years have significantly affected road maintenance works across the country. Roads Authority Public Relations Officer Alice Chintoji says inadequate funding, largely due to poor fuel level remittances, has delayed rehabilitation and routine maintenance of several roads, including the M1 stretch between Zalewa and Palula Trading Center. Chintoji was responding to concerns raised by the Malawi Healthy Equity Network and the Minibus Owners Association of Malawi, who warned that poor road conditions are contributing to accidents and fatalities. Judy Fogan has filed a report read in our studios by Charity Chilanga.
Chintoji acknowledged the public concern and said despite financial constraints, the authority is currently procuring contractors to carry out routine maintenance works on several routes, with the procurement process at an advanced stage. She said on the Zalewa-Palula section, a contractor is already on site conducting pothole patching. She said works have been completed from Mukamamba to Kanono and progressing towards Palula, though prolonged rains and shortages of bitumen have slowed the pace. Chintoji added that the authority is also in the process of procuring a major periodic maintenance contractor for the M1 corridor, stressing that while funding and material challenges persist, rehabilitation efforts are ongoing.
the public regarding the state of our roads across the country, and particularly the M1, the stretch between Zalewa and Karura Trading Center. We have in recent years faced the delays in terms of our progress challenge. We are currently in the process of procuring a major periodic maintenance contractor to work on the M1 corridor that is from Lilongwe to Luntha, and this process is at an advanced stage.
Earlier, the Malawi Health Equity Network Mehania and Minibus Owners Association of Malawi MOAM warned that poor road conditions are causing accidents and fatalities across the country.
Remember that you're watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center, and today you're with me, Fales Chizombe. Before we proceed, let's have another look at the headlines. Bishop Erik Valentin of Trondheim, Norway, preaches to Pope Leo XIV and the Roman Curia during Lenten spiritual exercise at the Vatican. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika orders re-inquiry into Chilema plane crash amid concerns over flawed initial probe. Malawi First raises alarm over patient funds at Reserve Bank of Malawi. And in other news, over 600 Kenyans trapped in Cambodia trafficking case. Still on the news, Mangochi and Zomba are among the districts said to benefit from the Voices for Climate Justice, empowering Malawi's vulnerable communities for a resilient and just future, a project being implemented by NCA this year. Speaking at the launch in Lilongwe today, NCA DCA Country Director Stephen Jason said that between 2010 and 2024, Malawi experienced 16 major flooding incidents. He noted that the situation has been particularly concerning in Mangochi and Zomba, where the 2024 Malawi Vulnerability Assessment Committee report estimates that 35% and 30% of the populations, respectively, are facing acute food insecurity during the current lean period. Richard Monoka has filed this report.
Johnson said the 2022 World Bank Group report ranked Malawi as the 27th most vulnerable country to climate-related shocks and 166th out of 185 countries on the Climate Readiness Index. He explained that this highlights the need for the project, which seeks to enhance climate and environmental justice for the country's most at-risk communities by strengthening local advocacy and accountability mechanisms. Johnson added that the initiative will equip faith-based organizations and community groups with the tools to advocate for climate justice, while also pushing duty bearers and pollution companies to take responsibility for their actions.
We hope that with this launch of this particular important project funded by the Irish Embassy here in Lilongwe, we're going to foster debates trying to get justice on the climate front over the next 15 months. And we are hoping that together with our implementing partner, SEPA and CARICOM, we can really make a difference, not only on district, but also on national level, to have more nationwide conversations about the issue of climate justice moving forward.
Samuel Sakuta from the Ministry of Energy and Mining says it is widely acknowledged that millions of Malawians are facing food insecurity and climate-related risks. He noted that the government is committed to working with Zomba, Mangochi and other districts to ensure the project achieves its intended objectives.
Make sure that the project implementers are working hand in hand with our ministry, our department, because much as they are implementing this project, we need also to be available in areas where they are implementing the projects to make sure that whatever they want to implement are also in line with our policies out there.
Through the initiative, Malawians will gain stronger voices in climate decision making, better protection from climate risks, and the tools to build a more resilient and just future. The 15-month project is being carried out by NCA-DCA nationally through the Center for Environmental Policy Advocacy (CEPA) and in Zomba and Mangochi districts through the Catholic Development Commission in Malawi, CADECOM. Funded by the Embassy of Ireland, the initiative has a budget of approximately 410,000 euros, which is equivalent to about 841 million Malawi kwacha. Bridget Mwanoka, for Luntha News.
The Tobacco Association of Malawi Trust has urged tobacco growers across the country to exercise patience and avoid selling their crop to middlemen, warning that doing so results in huge financial losses and undermines the country's efforts to mobilize foreign exchange. Tama Trust President Abel Kalima said the association will continue visiting tobacco growing areas to educate farmers on the importance of waiting for official markets opened by the Tobacco Commission, stressing that selling outside the system may also lead to loss of forex for the country. Tama President was reacting to reports that some farmers have started selling their tobacco to middlemen ahead of the official opening of the tobacco market. We have more in this report filed by Gift Kalonga.
Tama President Abel Kalima has warned tobacco growers against rushing to sell their crop to middlemen, saying farmers risk making huge losses by accepting very low prices before the official market opens. He said some middlemen are buying tobacco at as low as 300 kwacha per kilogram, yet the same quality and grade can fetch between 2,800 kwacha and 3,000 kwacha per kilogram once the market is officially opened. Kalima added that selling tobacco outside the regulated system not only disadvantages farmers but also affects countries' foreign exchange earnings, urging growers to wait for the market to be opened by the Tobacco Commission.
We as the Tama Pharmacy Trust, we have got a responsibility for sensitizing the growers not to sell tobacco to the middlemen, because if they say to the middlemen they are selling at 300 kwacha per kg, just after two weeks, the very same quality, the very same grade will be sold at maybe 2,800, even 3,000 kwacha per kg. So you're just losing. So it's our responsibility as Tama Pharmacy Trust to go around in the villages where tobacco has been grown to teach our farmers to just wait up until the Tobacco Commission opens the market, because there is no any market in Malawi apart from the one opened by the Tobacco Commission.
Tobacco remains the backbone of Malawi's economy, contributing approximately 60 to 70% of the country's total foreign exchange earnings annually, making it the single largest source of forex for the nation. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
And in other news, hundreds of Kenyan nationals stranded in Cambodia have turned to the courts in Nairobi, asking judges to force the government to secure their return after what they describe as human trafficking ordeal, disguised as overseas employment. In a case filed at the High Court, the grouping says they traveled to Southeast Asia after being promised legitimate jobs, only to find themselves confined in a heavily guarded compound. According to the legal documents, the site was ring-fenced with high walls and barbed wire, and movement was tightly controlled. We have an Africa News report read by Patrick Popper.
The petitioners allege they were made to work punishing hours, sometimes up to 16 hours a day under intense pressure to meet strict targets. Some reported physical abuse and untreated injuries, including stab wounds. The findings do not confirm the exact nature of the work, but note that authorities across Cambodia have recently been dismantling facilities linked to online fraud networks, which have expanded across parts of the region. The situation reportedly shifted after local security forces raided the premises, prompting those running the operation to flee. The Kenya says they were left behind and are now sheltering in difficult conditions without adequate food, medical care, or the means to leave the country. Their legal challenge asked the court to order Kenya Foreign Affairs Ministry and other state agencies to intervene urgently by providing consular assistance, issuing temporary travel documents, and arranging evacuation flights. The petition urges the state has a constitutional obligation to protect citizens from exploitation, including when they are abroad. The group also says Cambodian authorities have instructed them to exit the country by February 28 or risk legal consequences, including possible detention. Many claim they cannot afford the cost of returning home on their own. Kenya's foreign ministry said it had not yet been briefed on the matter, where officials in Cambodia did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Judges in Nairobi are expected to consider the case on Tuesday as pressure grows for a coordinated response to what lawyers describe as a cross-border trafficking crisis.
That item concludes our today's news bulletin, but before we leave you, another look at the headlines. Bishop Erik Valentin of Trondheim, Norway, preaches to Pope Leo XIV and the Roman Curia during Lenten spiritual exercise at the Vatican. President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika orders re-inquiry into Chilema plane crash amid concerns over flawed initial probe. Malawi First raises alarm over patient funds at Reserve Bank of Malawi. And in other news, over 600 Kenyans trapped in Cambodia trafficking case. I have been Fales Juzumbe. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in for the rest of our programs here on Luntha Television. Stay safe and goodbye.